Well, it is that time again, everybody. How you are doing well? My name is Bird Dog John, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios,
Yep.
it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? You're just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, GoWeb? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. I feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. What's going on, everybody? My name is indeed Bird Dog John, and we're back again for another exciting hour at least. Today we're going to do a little studio walk around. No, Mr. Ross, we are not announcing in any way some sort of resurrection of the studio. May she rest in peace. I don't have any news about that. But yes, you may definitely dream about that. That might be the case. Anyways, good stuff. Welcome aboard, everybody. And we are walking through today. I do want to talk about on Tuesday's show, it was asked that maybe I could show up and do a walkthrough of the studio. Matter of fact, they were like, we'll just drive over there and see it. Honestly, it's not that impressive. But what I could do is use a little bit of this time to show you my studio, and you guys could see how it is that I have it set up. And I have PTZ cameras, and so we can definitely show all of the things. So we will plan to do that. Now I am listening to my show on my iPad today, and it is here, so I think it sounds good. You tell me how it sounds on your end, but we can definitely check that out. Yes, and also the let me jump over to this camera. Yeah, so we got my car keys. Yes, there's a Snacks on Stream mystery box here. I did not forget about that. So Brayton's pretty excited to find out how I'm going to handle. I'm so sorry. Thank you. All right, so let's try that again. So why? Oh, it's because the bumper video started. Man, that's annoying. Yes, thank you, Paul, for letting me know. Yes, my mic did cut out, and of course, everything was feeding back, and apparently, I still missed it. So, oh boy, it's been a rough go. Let's see, audio. Do I have the Zen audio stuff on this machine? I know it's on that machine, but I'm not too sure if I put the Zen audio. I should definitely have it on here because it gives an actual feedback to, if there's no audio on the channel. So, yeah, that video started, which mutes my microphone, and then I usually don't have an issue because I'm not showing that video mid-show. But anyways, let's see what we got here. We've got, is that actual? Yes, NDI router is in here. Zen router protocols. Oh, but it's not all the files that I thought it would be. Okay, so that's not helpful. All right, well, I'll find it. And if not, I'll download it. But apparently I need that. I need the audible feedback that Zen. I'll just type in Zen NDI. It's a UK site. There it is, zenvideo.co.uk. And I want to get the no audio meter. So we're going to download. That. Download it from NDI Zen. Let's go ahead and current versions of Zen Utilities is for 64-bit Windows only. Okay. So audio meter. Download. Giggity goo. Here we go. All right, so we're going to get that set up so that we can't do that again. And yeah, I'll throw that QR code up there. It is up and running. I've got one person remembers where to find that. They have it bookmarked or something, so one person's up there. But there you go. Heat map. That is what that QR code is for. No audio. Thank you. And yes, so Snacks on Stream today. Pretty excited. And Brayton has supplied that mystery box for me. So I'm trying to straighten out my glasses. He's provided that mystery box. So that is here on the desk, ready to go. And I don't know what's in here. So we'll find out when that time comes. And I'll do that after we do a little studio tour. So I just spent 2 minutes trying to work out why my audio was broken. Sorry. That's my fault, everybody. Definitely my fault. So, hey, I downloaded the no audio meter, which is an app. Extract all. I want to extract this into the Twitch files and NDI. I'll put it in here. Select this folder, extract. Let's do this real quick. Wait, something's not right here. Extract all. Browse. Twitch. Okay, yep, here. I still call them Twitch files. Extract. Here we go. And then, because I don't want to forget, I'm going to go to run. Okay, so go to start, run. Type in shell ;startup. This is going to open up your startup apps when your computer boots up. And we're going to take that program, the no audio display meter. Display or meter? Which is it? Info, run anyway, not display. So the meter is the one that I want to run. And we are going to say more options because I hate Windows 11. I'm just not familiar with Windows 11, but oh, come on now. This is really annoying. So I should have created a shortcut and not done this. Okay. So properties, and I want to say compatibility, run this program as admin, apply. So now when I open this, it shouldn't ask me to do that, but it does. Not cool. So we're going to create a shortcut instead. Gosh, I really don't like Windows 11. Why is it when I press show more, so you right click on a program and you say show more options, my computer like seizes up. I can't figure out how to do that. This was a basic function of Windows ever since Windows 11. So why are we struggling now? Now the folder's not responding. Really cool. Really appreciate that, Windows. Thanks. Thanks for nothing. All right, so we want to create shortcut. Here we go. That's what we want to do. And then I want to change this to run as admin. Yeesh. And then I want to allow. I don't like that he has advertisements on here, but he's got to make money somehow, I guess. Alrighty, so now we've got this stuff working. And I have an NDI source. So will this beep at me? It's not beeping at me. Well, that's not useful. It's because I changed the way that I hear my audio. So we need the output of this program needs to be put out through a different output, but it won't let me do that. Not cool. All right. Well, I'll sort this out one day. I also don't understand inside the audio meter app, the no audio meter app inside Zen Audio. Why is there an exit button and a disconnect button? Shouldn't it just dump the whole program? I've never understood that. And then if you hit exit while you're connected to an NDI stream, it says first you have to disconnect and then you need to exit. It's like, why not just do it both at the same? Yeah, why not just do it both the same? So, yeah. So hey, if you want to join my little heat map, we're hanging out today, and I can show that on the big screen. Let's throw that up here. So this is where folks are right now, and there's a handful of you guys actually watching. So if you want, you can scan that QR code, and yeah, go from there. What was the Zen Audio URL? That is ndistuff.uk. Apparently that's his new site. ndistuff.uk. There's also zenvideo.co.uk. That's his like homepage. But the download page is I'm sorry, did I say that wrong? I said that wrong. It's ndistuff.uk. That's the site for the download page. And I just grabbed it off of there real quick. So there you go. What's going on, Terrence? Welcome back. No comment. No comment, NetHab. Oh, somebody's checked in from Detroit. It's good stuff. At least it looks like it's Detroit. Let's find out. Yep. Got a couple of guys watching from Detroit. So, there you go. Always good to have you all along. And I'm watching from my phone, so I can't scan. Australia East Coast. All right, so you're going to make me share this file again manually, like we're living in the dark ages. Why doesn't YouTube allow people to click on QR codes that are on videos? Like, why isn't it that intelligent? It seems like a pretty simple. It seems like a pretty simple function, but I don't know. Put your hands up for Detroit. That could be interpreted in several ways. Oh, hey, what's going on? Back from north of Detroit on M15. Yes, M15 is right up right near my house. That's for sure. What's going on, Angus? Oh, whoops. What's going on, Angus? Morning. I'm just at a client set. I'm trying to pop in and say hi. Well, you have successfully done so. Thanks for popping in. Because it's YouTube and they don't want to help. Fair enough. That is definitely possible. Wow, there are a lot of people in Europe today, in particular in the UK. Well, thanks for coming along, everybody. Always fun. Okay, well, what time is it? No, 1:15. That's pretty good. Today's show is brought to you by the remnants of my morning coffee inside Stanley, the mug of choice. My Ember mug is across the way. I use my Ember mug for coffee that's made here in the office. I use the Stanley travel mug for when I'm bringing half a pot of coffee to work with me in the morning. I had to get in this morning on time, and actually, this is a great little segue into what it is that we want to do today, but drinking coffee first. Okay, so I had to get in on time this morning because I had a 9 o'clock meeting right away. And the guys that were checking in were also on the East Coast, and so they were also up at 9 a.m. and in their studio. So we were doing some colorization with cameras and talking about setting up their studio and how these cameras really like to be used and what's ideal and what you can get away with and all that sort of thing. So I was pretty much doing like a pre-setup with them as to what it is that I want to talk about here today, which is like how the studio has evolved into what it is right now. Now, you'll recall, let's talk about how this all kind of has come together here. I'm just going to check in vMix and make sure things are going. So you'll recall that this studio has evolved over time. And as all shows do, you hone in on the way that you want to do things. and you kind of, learn over time what works and what doesn't, especially when it comes to things like automating your production studio if you're a one-man band or if you're dealing with on-air talent and you're the one producing things. You want to set it up in a way where you can manage it and still produce high quality stuff. And just like all streams and productions, this show is really of no exception, where I've changed orientation of the actual desk itself and how things are lit. I've changed where cameras are. I've changed out cameras. I'm using all different. Well, I used to have multiples of the same. Now I have all different cameras to kind of give variety. And it has slowly grown over time. I've even moved my main office into this studio space. So I have a desk with monitors and things on the other side of this room. It's not a very big room, but my whole studio production suite is on one side of my office. And so that has taken on a form of its own when it comes to how it is that I am producing the show. So it's convenient in some ways, it's inconvenient in others, but we want to talk about the main 4 elements, right? So the 4 elements in your studio are going to be video, lighting, sound, and then the actual production or presentation. And so that's how I think about a lot of productions, and I isolate them. I try not to marry them together too much because I don't want to cross paths until I absolutely have to. Okay. And I'll explain my method with that as we kind of go through. But the goal is that I don't want to have to merge things together unless it's absolutely necessary. I want to bring them in all the way basically down to part 4, the production side, as best I can at full quality that I can. So without any kind of compromising of the original signal. So let's start with video, because that's pretty much the most obvious one, is what cameras am I using around the studio? Well, this camera that you're looking at is a P200, and this has been actually my go-to camera for almost 3 years, even while I have the option to use a P4K. And I'll tell you why I do that. First of all, the P200 is probably the most common camera that people are using. It's not the entry-level camera, and it's not the high-end camera. The 200 is kind of the middle of the road. If you're looking to get into NDI, you're looking to buy a bird dog, you're going to at least look at the 200 or the 240 as an option to get into the flow of NDI bird dog. So the 200 is my primary camera, and that is the camera that you're looking at here. I also have a 110, which is the new 100 series. It is basically the P100, but it's a different form factor, and it has that 10 times optical lens on it. Now, this is a secondary shot. It's obviously off to the side, and it is looking at my rig a different way, so it gives more of a little more context. Now, I don't look at that camera when I switch to it. I don't do this and talk to that lens. I continue to look at the P200, so it gives you an optional shot. And I use these cameras in a playlist inside vMix so that it will cycle through them on their own, on its own, and I don't have to actually switch cameras during my actual production, so I don't have to do that. And then my other camera is a P4K. Now, this is that really expensive $8,000 camera that has a 20 times optical and a 1-inch sensor. So it handles blacks much differently than the 110, for example, where the black is not quite as deep as this shot, where it's maybe you might think it's a little over contrasty, but the P4K has a fair bit more of manipulation when it comes to black level in the shot. And so that camera I like to use as contextual, at least in this studio. I like to use it as a context camera because it gives you an idea as to what it is. I'm also not shifting my eye view to look at that lens when I'm live on that camera. Okay, so I'm not usually talking to that lens. I'm still looking at the P200, which is inside this Telscript teleprompter, which is kind of an extra. Okay, so I think the NDI Telscript teleprompter is great, but it's definitely not a requirement for me to do my show. Now, it's super convenient, and it keeps my eye line looking at the lens at all time, which really bothered me in my previous configurations. Before I was using a teleprompter, I was using a multi-viewer, and my eye line was always slightly off. It was like this, where I wasn't necessarily looking right into the lens, but I wasn't looking right off. But I was trying to look at myself and make sure I was centered, and talking into a little window of glass is not super convenient or natural for a lot of people, and myself included. And so what I do is I use the Telscript NDI teleprompter. I put the 200 behind that, and then I put the 200 image on the teleprompter. And so when I'm talking to you, I'm making sure that my framing is correct, but also my eyesight is looking into the lens of the camera. So that's super helpful. So that's how we do that on the 200, which is this shot. And so when I'm on other camera shots, the 110 or the P4K, I'm not looking into those lenses. I'm looking into the 200, and I'm using those as more context shots. And I think, that comes across pretty simply. Now, the other camera that's in the studio is a 100, and that is sitting on the ceiling. Now, my 200 is up here in the corner, okay, so it's a layered shot. But the 100 is the majority of that shot, and that just, if I need to do like hands-on things, or we want to talk about snacks on stream, or I want to show you my X keys, that's how I primarily function in vMix. All that stuff is done with an overhead shot, and that's a P100. That camera is, let me go back to this shot. That camera is hanging from the ceiling, and I will open the P4K and show you that shot real quick. I'll show you that 100 that's hanging from the ceiling. So it's actually up there with my hair light. And so this is that P100 that's looking at my desk, and it is up there next to the hair light that I use for this production, okay? So when we are going between these two shots, that is that P100 that's hanging up there. And then there's also a hair light that's above me there that's not hitting the wall. It's hitting my desk. So it's providing light for first of all, for that 100 shot. It's providing pretty good even light for that, but also it's a hair light. So it's putting light on my hat and on my shoulders a little bit and providing some separation from that back wall that's behind me. So that is that shot. Now let me just center this P4K because I'm going to use this shot again here momentarily to explain the rest of the studio. Okay, so those are my cameras. That's how those are the positions of my cameras. I've got one directly in front of me. I've got the 110 that's off to my side here. Okay, it's on my right-hand side, looking at me kind of like as a, not over the shoulder. It's at the side essentially, but it's a mid-level context shot. And then my P4K is also a context shot. It's way further back, and it's showing more of the inner workings of the actual system. Shows my lighting, for example, shows my microphone and the boom stand and the computer and the teleprompter and all that sort of stuff behind the scenes. So those are my cameras, okay? Now, the next piece of this then, so that's the video element, and those are all coming in via NDI. The next element to this then is audio. So audio is, of course, the RE20 broadcast level microphone. It's not super cheap. It's about a $400 microphone, or maybe like $450, but it has been a broadcast standard in radio for many, many, many years, dozens of years, and they haven't changed much about it. So this is the EV RE20, and this is going into a Gator Frameworks boom arm stand, which has an integrated XLR cable on both ends, right? So it goes in, it's a very clean look. Actually, I'll cut over to this shot so you can see that. It's a very clean look. The wire isn't wrapped around it, but it's all internal. And then on the bottom end of that is a clamp for a desk mount that runs over via XLR. It's like a 10-foot cable, by the way, into channel 1 of a Behringer Euphoria 404 HD USB interface. So I'm using that as my preamp, and that's providing phantom power to the RE20 through the Gator Frameworks stand. And I've got some stickers on here, whatever, that just say Bird Dog, that I was using for branding at one time, but now the cameras are turned the other way, so you can't even see them. So the audio element is RE20, EV RE20 into a Gator Frameworks with integrated XLR into a Behringer 404 Euphoria HD audio interface that provides phantom power on channels 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 should you want that. In addition to that, there is also a 90-degree, okay, and I should show you this on the overhead, I guess. There is a 90-degree turn XLR jack that I'm using to tidy up the cables. So before, the XLR cables were coming in and laying basically on the table, taking up space, and it looked untidy. And so what I did is I bought a 90-degree bend, XLR bend, that you can change the orientation as you'd like. And I can even show you this a little bit. Let me because this cable is actually not plugged in, but it's a 90 degree, and you can change the orientation of the barrel connection. So you can turn this any way you want. So if you have a soundboard, for example, that you want it to point down, not up, you could turn it around. Now do that carefully, because they're just cheap little wires inside. That's not like a super robust product. But I was really annoyed that before, the wires were all laying on my table like that, and I felt like that looked unkept. Okay, it didn't look very tidy. So the way that I fixed that is I bought the little 90-degree arms, and these cables are nice because they have a little spring loaded, not loaded, but they're just like a little reinforcement with a metal. These are just Amazon Basic XLR cables, by the way. And so they had a little reinforcement, which helps with the bend because it's going to permanently sit kind of like that. And so we plug in the 90 degrees, and then that cleans it up here. You can see in the top. It cleans it up so that the cables are not resting on the tables or in the way, but they're kind of off the table and then going off the back to keep the desk kind of clean that way. So, the Behringer preamp, you adjust that as you need it, and then that's USB directly into the Stream Dudes machine that I'm using to run vMix. And so we'll get into production side in a second, but that is the way that is configured. Okay, so audio is generally the RE20, EV RE20. In addition to, if I ever have a guest, which in the studio, and I want to do a show with them, then I would probably use the NTG2 microphone, which is also here, but I use that as my desk microphone at my other computer right now. But I have an NTG2 Rode shotgun microphone that I would position just below them, and then bring that in on channel 2 and do the exact same thing like I do with this microphone. So I know guys like Tom Sinclair really like having shotgun microphones off the screen. He likes it to be cleaner and for there not to be a microphone in the shot. I prefer to have this style microphone where I feel like I can dial it way back so that you're not hearing a lot of the ambient sound in this room. Guys are working in here, they're talking in here, and it does a pretty good job of rejecting a lot of that side noise, which is what this business is on this microphone, by the way, and just capturing what's directly in front of it. So for a broadcast microphone, it's not noisy in here, but it could be quieter. Also, the Stream Dudes machine is running. You can hear the internal fans. I can hear them speeding up and slowing down all the time. So hopefully that's not coming across on the show. Okay, so video and audio. The third element to that is lighting, right? Because and it kind of goes hand in hand with the video piece, but this is directly what what the conversation was about with my remote session this morning at 9 a.m. was about lighting mostly, because broadcast style cameras really like a lot of light. Okay, they like more than you think. And so folks will buy these and put them inside their poorly lit auditoriums and then wonder why it doesn't look pristine. And more times than not, it's because you actually have very low lighting. You don't have very sufficient lighting for a broadcast style lens, which is what the Bird Dog lenses basically are. And so even the 100 series, they really like a lot of light to get all of the options and the coloration to manipulate the image as expected. So all of my cameras, then, because I have a lot of light, they all, I can dial them back on the iris and I'm not maxed out all the time. Now, I will look up the actual model numbers for these so that we can speak accurately. But let me just punch this in here in, I think I ordered some of this stuff from Amazon. So I know for a fact that the main key light that I have, so this, let me go back to the 400 shot real quick, or P4K, sorry. This circle light that's up here, this is my main light. If I put my hand up here, you can see how bright that is, right? It is turned up pretty bright. And then I've dialed back on all my cameras, okay? That's the key, is you don't want to be on any extreme. You want to be somewhere in the middle where you have room to go left or right, or up or down, okay? With camera stuff, you always want to have that kind of extra room. And so extra light is pretty important. This is a Falcon Eyes camera. And I bought this back in December of last year. Not extremely cheap, but what I really like about this is it's really efficient with the power, and it gives you options to change the actual white balance of the the shot itself. So I run this pretty cold, about 5,000 Kelvin, maybe like 4,500. I think it's closer to 5, but I run it quite cold because that's the style of the shot that I want. And then I balance my cameras to this unit, and so that is what I have. This is the exact unit from that order that I placed. And so Falcon Eyes SO28TD kit, which is 28 watts. I'm not running at 100% on this light. Again, don't want to operate in extremes. I'm not running at 100%, so I have room to go up if I need to, but that is the actual unit that I have there. So now if I go to, let me see if I can look up the order for the box lights, which I bought a long time ago. This was like a 3-pack kit that I bought. Let me see if I can find it here. It's probably more than a year ago. It might be more than 2 years ago. Oh, and I can pop this one up too because I bought that one as well. Okay, so let me keep going. Man, yeah, these were a long time ago. What are they? Softbox. Whoops. Spelled that wrong. Oh, and like all my Kleenex orders have come up. Jeez. Okay, so not softbox. Let's type in studio. Let's see if studio lighting comes up. Some lighting stuff has come up. Yep. Here it is. Okay. So these are just your regular run-of-the-mill lights. They're just 3 cheap tripods, 3 cheap soft boxes with 3 cheap lights inside, okay? Totaling $140. So the Falcon Eyes was more expensive than all 3 of these other lights that I'm using. Now, these were my primaries, and the option is on bright or on dim, and then there are 3 colorations. So you can turn it on bright for 5,000 Kelvin, or on dim for 5,000 Kelvin, or on bright for like 4,000 Kelvin or like 2,800 Kelvin, okay? And you do that by just turning it off and back on, and then it cycles through the coloration. Really basic stuff. If you're looking to just get started and you don't have a huge budget, something like this would work just fine. I used it for a very long time. I hung one over top my head as my key light, and then I had 2 that were kind of left and right of me. One was bright and one was on dim, and that's how I did it for a very long time. Pretty simple stuff. I like how big the actual boxes themselves are. The actual soft box, like it's a big soft box. I wish it came with an egg crate, but it doesn't. So, and the other piece of lighting, anyways, that's what I bought there. I saved 10%. The other one is this. This is the overhead light. I actually really like the newer brand. I know it's cheap stuff, but for what it is, I mean, it just does what I need it to do. So I have a light that is right above my head, right? My hair light. That's this light. And this is also a selectable Kelvin level. And so again, they're all running basically the same Kelvin, and wasn't crazy expensive, but as time goes along, I purchased something that works a little better. This light is clamped to the ceiling, to the tiles, to the cross beam for the drop ceiling. And so it's clamped up there, and then I've just adjusted the brightness. It doesn't get hot. It doesn't get warm because it's LED. And so that's really helpful. And then everything runs down to basically one power strip, and I have a single button switch to turn on all the lights, including the RGBs. I guess I should show those too, including the RGBs, all plugged into the same power strip. Essentially, it's actually a rack mounted switch. So I flip the switch on that, and all the lights come on, except for the softbox, because I got to switch through the cycles. So I don't put that one on there. So if we go back here, I think I saw it. Where is it? I'll just type in RGB because that will tell me. Yep, there they are. So these are also super cheap. That Melpro LED, they come with a free app. Meh, it's all right. But they do what I want it to do. And they're actually outdoor rated. So they're 800 watt equivalents. They're 80 watts each. And you can match them, or you can do different colors. I actually have 4 of these, but I took 2 of them home. These I bought myself. These were my own kind of like preference. And so I spent money on these just personally. But you can do different white balances, you can do different colors, you can do a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all controlled on your cell phone. So if you just want some color or you want something like I have a gray wall behind me, and so I put green on and it turns it into kind of this bluish green light that you see here behind me. So that's all the lighting: Falcon Eyes, the newer light, the softbox, and then the RGBs that are behind me. And that has grown over time. It's taken me like 4 years to acquire all that stuff. And as you can tell, it's not super expensive. I mean, at least for me, it's not extremely expensive. So the fact that it takes me this long to buy all this stuff, should tell you something. So there you go. All right. So lighting is king when it comes to making your shot look good, just like audio is king in the video world. Okay. It's the funny phrase. People will watch an amazing sounding video that has crappy video, but they will not watch an amazing video that has crappy sound. They just won't. So, we can almost guarantee that. So that's all the lighting stuff. Now, one additional thing that I will say, I do have a boom stand for the NTG2 that I'm currently not using, but I do use occasionally. So if I want to mount the microphone off camera and I want to put it just like right above my hat, pointed at my chest, and I want to use the NTG2 and I want to get rid of this guy, I am using a really heavy duty stand that has a weight on one end. This thing is a great investment because the arm on this thing is incredibly long. So you can position it like way far away, not way far away, but further away from your talent and reach, way into the shot and just place the microphone just off the frame. So it's super close, but the actual weight of the stand and everything is like pushed further back so that you can kind of reach in and get the audio in the right spot. That does not have integrated XLR. I think that would be the pinnacle of that. For $140, I feel like they could have done that, but you do have to have your own XLR cables and then wrap them. They do have some clips that help kind of manage the cable management, but ideally you'd still wrap it so that it doesn't move, it doesn't change at all, and then run that into the Behringer. So that is the actual boom stand. It is pretty big, and that's what I love. Look, it has you can't see that. It has an 8-foot reach, which is huge. I mean, now you can't put a super heavy microphone when it's at 8 feet on there, but the NTG2 works great. So it's a really long, that's about, I'm about the size of that guy, and that's accurate. I think that's an accurate depiction of how big that microphone is. If he's 5'9", yeah. Now, storing it is another problem because if you're not using it, where do you put that thing? But anyway, so that's video, that's audio, and that's lighting, and all of those elements, kind of culminate together. So then the last element is really bringing it all together, the production piece, right? And how do I do that? Now, I will just kind of back out a little bit on this P4K shot because I want you to be able to see the position of the lighting in context to all of this. And the P4K is great because it's like way further back. I'm going to lower this down to low bandwidth because I don't need to be consuming that much. But let's back this up so that you can see kind of context. So you can see one of my screens over there on my workbench, not my workbench, but that's like where I do work, that table right there. But this camera is sitting here next to this poinsettia. I did feed it and it's looking a little happier today than it was on Tuesday. But you can see kind of how this is set up. Now notice my lighting is really close to the subject, okay? My lighting is not back. It's close up. And then I'm framing my shots appropriately. So my main shot is this one. And so I can put these lights as close off frame as I possibly can and then dial them back so that I don't have to use full power. Whereas if I put them on the other side of the room, which I used to do, I'd have to crank them and run at full power and then introduce gain on the camera level, and that's not a good idea. So when you're dealing with how am I going to light this, how am I going to frame these shots, consider that you need to probably have, wrong camera. You need to probably have the frame, set up this way, and then put your lights just off and then dial them in, dial them up as you go along. So that is, that's how that kind of plays out. Now, You can see my rig. I used to have multiple screens. I used to have I still have a teleprompter, but I had lots of screens around me. Now I have one computer. It's the Stream Dudes machine, and I am running a TV as a second monitor, and I'm running this main 27-inch Dell monitor on the desk. And then I have the Telscript NDI teleprompter. You can see that hair light above me, and you can see how bright it is because my hand's blown out. So I've got it cranked up pretty high. This light is also super bright. Okay, and you can see that it casts a pretty dark shadow on my face when I'm covering it up. But where it is positioned, that's bright. That's the correct brightness for that light. And then this softbox is just filling in the shadows. It's not really providing light per se, not like this guy, but it's filling in some of the shadows. And so a nice softbox on the other side will really kind of even things out a little bit and provide you with that depth shadow that we're all kind of going for. So that's how it's positioned. What I like about the way that this is done is that we can position the lights away from my line of sight, and I can look at the camera and it doesn't blind me. Okay. A lot of time, if you put the lights next to the camera, which I used to do, then you're kind of looking into the light. I mean, your peripheral is still kind of not, you're not looking at it directly, but you really are. So by the time the show is done, you're like, oh, geez, like everything needs to, I need to turn off all the lights. Instead of that, now my lights are way outside of my line of sight, and I can look at the camera and not be blinded by the end of the show. And so that's really nice for your talent to evenly do a 3-point lighting system where you have bright on one side, darker on, or like a fill light on one, and then your hair light above you. That's super helpful to have it set up that way. So I'm going to return this P4K shot as reference, and then we'll get out of that. Okay. So the last piece then is vMix. And what is it that you're using to produce the show? Well, I was using OBS and Streamlabs at one time. That had its usefulness, and it lasted for quite a while. I used that program for almost 2 years. Then I switched over to Wirecast because OBS wasn't keeping up. So Wirecast was then able to bring in the NDI signals natively, and you layer the system in Wirecast. A little bit different how you produce the end of the show, at least as far as I could tell. It's a different style of video switching, not good or bad, just a little bit different, and you figure it out as you go along. But I was having other issues in Wirecast, in particular probably with bandwidth and with I didn't have the knowledge as to how do I create playlists. Here are some things that I'd really like for my show to have. And so I was reluctant at first, but I talked to Tom Sinclair, again, Eastern Shore Broadcasting, and the king of the streaming idiots. He convinced me to give vMix another try, and so I got a license from vMix and fired it up. And I've been at vMix basically ever since because it will do the things that I want to do. So first and foremost, it does playlists, which allows me to autopilot the switching between cameras. So I've turned the playlist on here. It's going to run down, and eventually we'll change camera angles. And I do this between 4 different shots. So the P200, the P110, the P4K, and then I have like a culmination of all cameras in a multi-viewer shot. And so those 4 different camera angles cycle through a playlist and give the viewer some variety to actually look at. So you can set that up to automatically work and to loop. And so if you're just going to do a segment like this where you're going to talk to a single camera and you want to change it up a bit, you can allow the playlist to do that natively on its own. So primary reason for moving over to vMix is because it would do that. However, since being in vMix, I've discovered a whole bunch of things that vMix can do that I really wasn't able to naturally do in other places. Mostly the integration with X-Keys and Companion and shortcuts and Tally and all of that. Layering in particular is a lot easier, I have found, inside vMix. And again, it may just be a matter of not knowing how to do it, how to layer in things in other programs, but it came very natural to me to figure that out in vMix. And I've evolved the way that I run my outputs in vMix. So I have all the inputs, right? So you have audio, video, you have video shorts or commercials or intro video or overlays or all that, right? Well, I consider those all inputs, but then I create basically the final look that I want. And so I'm calling those outputs. I'm basically saying these are the things that I will send out to the show, that I'll use in the show to these will be all of the individual elements, and they'll be completed in terms of the audio will be there, the video will be there, the the overlays will all work in that on those layers. And so as I walk through how it is that I want my show to be produced, I bring in all my inputs and I don't touch those. I let them be kind of as is. All right. So I've worked on cameras, I've worked on their coloration settings, I've worked on their exposure, all that stuff. I bring that in and I don't touch that input in vMix. I don't manipulate that. I don't add layers. I don't do anything like that. Instead, I create a new output and I make that look how I want it to look. All right. So I set up an output for example, there's a P200. This is pretty much just the P200 input on a secondary output, but I don't show the P200 input live. I show the P200 output. Now that might be confusing, but I do that because then when I manipulate the output, I'm not screwing up the input, because the input is also on other layers like my overhead camera, right? My P100 has my P200 picture in it. And if you add things to the P200 input, you're going to add them to that shot as well. So I don't want to do that. I want to individualize it. And so as you're kind of watching these things, us go through the individual shots, I don't want to put the source input. I don't want to change the source input. I want to customize an output so that it shows the same thing every time. Now, I'm going to kill the playlist just for a minute because I want to show you what I mean by this. Okay, so here is the P100. And you'll notice this is the P100 output, okay, not the input. The camera is just the P100, but notice me up here in the corner, right? So I've added this as a layer on the P100, the overhead camera. I want you to be able to see me talking as well. So I've put the P200 as a layer. However, if we go to the all camera shot, you'll notice that I'm not in the top corner of the P100. And that's because I've added that layer on the P100 output, but it's not on the input. So I can bring in the P100 input on this shot and I don't have to worry about me being again in the top corner of that shot. Instead, it's just each input in a 2x2 quadrant. And so that gives me the ability then to manipulate each of the scenes or the looks or the however you want to talk about that. I can manipulate those individually, and it gives me a lot more flexibility in what it is that I actually show you as an end result. So I actually like this a lot better, because now when I change the settings for these sorts of inputs, I'm actually just changing the final product. I'm not manipulating all the individual inputs are still the same, and I can build as many outputs as I want. So I really like this workflow, and I actually like this shot in particular, but I wouldn't want my camera in the top left-hand corner of the P100 overhead shot, right? Because that's also available. That's also here in the top left-hand corner. So of the actual 2x2 quadrant. So it's just a matter of like figuring out what works for your production. And that was one of the big pieces. It was, okay, let's now fix what it is that I'm showing, because I'm showing individual inputs and really I want to show outputs instead. So that's the way that it's mapped out in my brain. So P200 is the main shot, and that's how I build kind of what it is that people see on my show. I end up just using outputs instead of all the individual inputs. And it takes a little extra time, but it also allows me then, well, let's go back to this shot. It also allows me to use my X keys through Companion in the current configuration as a true video switcher. So I can load in preview. I can load the P200, which is camera 1, which is down here. But, camera 4, which is the overhead output, is the one that's currently showing. And when I cut that, it switches on, you can't see it, but it switches the lights on my X keys device. And it keeps it very clean in terms of what I want people to see is the output P200. Well, that is program 1, click that button, and program 1 is there. If I want you to see my overhead camera, I can click program 4 and it will show program 4, and the light follows as we kind of go through it. So now the confusing bit is you're looking at program 4 and you can see the X keys, okay? The things are on. And then when I cut, unfortunately, you can't see that. I guess I could hold it up to the camera. But if I cut, now it's upside down. When I cut, it definitely switches those lights. So it's blue on camera 1, and now it's red on camera 1. See? Camera 1's here. So really helpful feedback. Unfortunately, not super helpful when I killed the audio on the show earlier and didn't know I was muted. But we definitely walk through. That's kind of the usability. One of the things I'm really excited about with this is I pretty much don't need this keyboard anymore. Like, to run the show, I don't need it. It's nice, and there are some things that I want to type, but for the most part, I could cut between all of my shots and not need a keyboard. And I just use a mouse and the X keys, and that's it. And that simplifies this a lot, especially if someone else was going to come in and try and produce something or make a video. I can just say, like, look, cameras 1, 2, 3. Those are your cameras. And then you cut them over and you hit the record button. That's it. And that's all there is to it. Make sure that all your lights are red. Red is dead, right? Red is on. So we want to be sure that they're all lit up red. So the Stream Dudes machine, and I still need to get on the horn with Stream Dudes and have one of them come on here and talk to me about the computer and their process and how they build and what they do to test and why they're in business. I want to have them come on here and talk about the actual Stream Dudes machine, but that is what I'm using. It's a 2U, 3U? It's a 2U Stream Dudes custom build. Basically, though, like, nothing super special about it because we want to qualify their product to be kind of like, this is what BirdDog uses, and we really like it. We test all our stuff on a Stream Dudes machine. It works great. And so far, by the way, it does. So I'm using a Stream Dudes machine, vMix machine. I'm using a copy of vMix HD. Actually, it's a 4K version, vMix 4K. Although I'm only outputting at 1080p 30, I believe. So I'm only outputting at 1080p 30. And then I'm using that to bring in all my sources. And then I'm building my final show. And then I'm outputting those sources with my X keys programs and previews are calling on those outputs to show. So that's what's going on there. So the production side of things, then I've kind of camped out at vMix. And vMix gives you the option to monitor your audio and your video all at the same time on one big screen, which is super nice. There are also multi-viewers that I could dump onto the second screen if I wanted to, or if I had a third monitor, I could do that. But as it is right now, this is probably the easiest and the most streamlined version of this show that I do. I haven't found an easier way to do this. However, there are some things in the future that I'm going to check out. And the first thing is central control, okay? So central control is on the docket to see if we can implement that. There's a really cool NDI teleprompter function of that software, and so I got to get into that and find out more about that. But also programming your X keys to work across multiple platforms, much like Companion. That's one of the things that they do really well as well. So I want to get into that. So that's kind of the walk around of the studio. The only other thing, I guess, is like monitoring feedback. And I've already talked about the teleprompter being my video monitor. But I do have kind of an in-ear monitor that I use just to monitor certain things. And inside vMix, I actually use channel A. Okay, so if you're familiar with vMix. And I route the things that I want to hear in my monitor through channel A. But it gives me the opportunity as well to put audio in my ear that I need to check. So I need to check my microphone. I can turn that on with audio A, and all of a sudden it turns on inside my headphone. But I don't necessarily want to hear myself talk because there's a little bit of a delay. So I don't want to hear myself talk all the time. So if I just want to check and make sure that I can be heard, I just click that on and I can hear it come online. And this feedback actually goes into the Euphoria 404 HD, into the phones port on there. And then I route the audio out of that phones port. So that's very convenient that I can do that. Just be careful if you're monitoring your audio. This is a CJ idea, by the way. So BirdDog CJ, who now lives in Melbourne and is traveling to like Malaysia right now or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, that's all sidebar. Be careful when you do this because you want to be sure that basically all of your other audio sources are on in A, except for your microphone. Because you want to hear all of that feedback. You want to hear the videos that go. You want to hear the sound effects. You want to do all of that. But you don't really necessarily want to hear your microphone. But then this gives live feedback to my ear so I know what's being done. So when I roll a video or I play a sound effects and I
Excellent.
I hear that in my ear, and it shows up. And so all of those are on the main output, which is what you're listening to, and then most of them are also in my monitor, and that's at least helpful then that I can hear all of that in tandem. So I think that's mostly it. I think that's the walk around of the entire studio, how it's evolved, what I'm doing with XKeys. I am using Companion right now to give me that live data feedback. I'm using the vMix input for that. I'm not using the BirdDog PTZ input, but I need a bigger XKeys panel to do that. And then I would totally program these cameras to have the ability to recall presets and steer it in real time. But I'm not doing that just yet because it's just 24 buttons. And I've maxed that out with all of the functions for vMix. So there you go. There you go. So I think that's a good walk around. I will take questions in the chat, but I definitely wanted to give an update as to what is going on in the studio space so that you knew how it was that I achieved, how I achieved this show every week. So hopefully that's helpful. All right, let's kill the recording, and now we're going to go into the chat and see what I missed. So there's just a handful of folks that have been writing in here. You could screenshot and then tap the QR code in the photo. It's true. Screenshot it and then tap it. Okay, so that's a way that you could do it while looking at it on vMix. And by the way, he's talking about this QR code, which is our heat map that's over here on the Google Webs. If we just make this full screen and I share this once again, you can see where everybody's checking in from. So always fun to have you guys along for the ride. There are a bunch of people over in Europe right now, and that's pretty fun. And a lot of folks on the East Coast of the United States. So thanks for following along and hanging out with us. Always fun to have you on board. And there's a lot of people talking in the chat. So let's keep going with that. Hopefully not at the end of the show this time. No, Tom, you have arrived. I think you arrived mid-show. Yeah, 11:30. So I'm always on at 11:30. I don't think there's been many times where I wasn't on, but at 11:30, that's a good time to hang out with us at the show. I know you arrived right at the end of the show last time. I feel like with this conversation, John should be playing "Blinded by the Light." It is bright, and here's something as a production guy you got to be ready for. Your talent is always going to say it's too bright. Your job is to tell them too bad, because the cameras need the light. They don't need to see the audience, all right? This bugs me so much, is when people get up on stage and it's lit correctly for camera and they get up and they're like, well, I can't see you. And it's like, they're not here to be seen. You're here to be seen. Sorry. I got a little sharp there. The talent is not there to see the audience. Maybe they want to feed off the audience's energy and that's something, but if you're broadcasting this, if you're doing this with high-end cameras, then you need them to be lit correctly. And you can always dial back inside the cameras if you have too much light. There will be a place where you blow them out completely and it won't be useful, but you need to light them up. And so when the talent gets on stage, you need to prep them. This is on you if they get up there and they're like, oh, it's so bright. That's on you. You should have told them it's going to be bright. All right, we need the stage to be really bright so that our cameras can accurately show the viewers at home or on stream or our recording. So just expect it to be super bright. Please don't do the looking through the audience thing. You need to expect it to be bright so that you look professional and we look professional. That's the whole plan. So what's going on, Petra? Welcome. vMix is indeed awesome. Tip, vMix 27 beta is released. Not for production, though. Where is it here? Hang on. I should have had this all geared up and ready to go. So Petra says, hey, vMix 27 beta, it has been released. I did see that. Tom announced that. But it's not for production, though. Hey, can you explain the Stream Dudes computer? Is it just a robust computer running vMix and other software that has additional streaming features? So yeah, the Stream Dudes machine is, whoops, wrong camera. So the Stream Dudes machine is actually, they're a group of guys that make computers specifically for vMix. Okay, it's the same thing with Eastern Shore Broadcasting, by the way. Tom does the same thing. But Stream Dudes, they have varying like configurations and they have some kind of like out of the box, like they paint their own boxes or they have custom boxes and things like that. It's really cool. But they basically, you can tell them what it is that you want to do and they'll build you a machine that will do it for a price. And then they'll say, on this version of vMix, this will do this, and this won't be the problem. This won't be the bottleneck, is the computer. Because a lot of people just need a turnkey, man. They don't want to figure it out for themselves. They just tell me the price to pay so that this thing looks and acts exactly as I think it should. And so that's what Stream Dudes does. They create machines, and they're quite robust. They're quite good. It's not just bare minimum, by the way. So they're going to sell you a machine that's going to work for the foreseeable future. And the one that I have, we actually have two here in the office. The one that I use for this show has been operating great. I've had to adjust the fan speeds a little bit because I do chew up some of the CPU, and the fan was doing things, but I was able to kind of eliminate that some. It does run. I can hear it running, but it's not killer. But the machines themselves, they're rack mountable, first of all. So it's a 1U, 2U, 3U type of unit. If you go to the Stream Dudes website, and I should throw them some streamdudes.com. Okay. I think they're in California. Streamdudes.com. If we go to present, share screen, Stream Dudes, this is their site. And these are the machines. This is kind of like what they do. So they have some articles on here, but the products is what you really want to go look at. And what I'm running is the Dude Rack. And it's the top one here. It's got this top. Now look, they have a 3U unit, but it is high powered. You can request specific GPUs to be integrated. It can really get beefy too. But I just have the Dude Rack, the 2U Brant, I believe is what they sent me, or maybe it's this one. But we didn't want to buy the most expensive one and be like, buy that one if you want guaranteed results. Actually, what we wanted was give us one that's like middle of the road, and we want to see if our stuff can keep up, and if they can keep up. So far so good. Everything seems to work just fine, and it's definitely something that you need to look into. So streamdudes.com, great stuff. Hey, morning, John. I use the VISC IP instead of NDI. Find the control cams using Bird Dog keyboard. It was more successful finding and using the cams. Hey, thanks for the tip. Fascinating. That might be a networking issue if the NDI protocol is struggling, but the VISC IP isn't. But you had indicated that you were using VISC IP for something else too, right? And it was fine. And so that's what led me to believe that maybe that, the VISCA protocol. Well, and to your second question, why is VISC IP better than NDI? Well, it's not better. I wouldn't phrase it like that. What I would say is VISCA IP is the base. The Sony VISCA IP protocol is the base for the NDI protocol, but we're able to send more data through the NDI protocol than we can through the VISCA IP. So it's a basic, if you're just looking for pan-tailed zoom, up, down, left, right, then VISC IP is sufficient. I mean, it's been sufficient for many years, but the NDI thing allows us to send more data, and I believe it's a hair bit faster. So there may be a networking problem if you're struggling with the NDI function, but not the VISCA, because VISCA is the base, but the NDI is a little more robust and we can do more with it. So that's curious to me. I also noticed, MTash, I think that you are posting that you're selling your 4250s. What's going on with that? Are you just don't need that many, or you are giving up on them? I'm curious to know more about that story. Hey, I'm back. I'm just driving home. Angus, welcome back. Always a pleasure. Let's go ahead and put the heat map up there for everybody to enjoy. That is where, look, Angus is checked in there in Edmonton. That's my friend. Hey, we finally got somebody in South America. What is going on? So happy to have you along for the ride. Thank you for joining us. We've been missing you from this show. So really happy that you have decided to join us. Thanks for coming along. Interesting. I could share this tab in StreamYard instead. And then what does it look like? Is it basically the same? So if I go back to this shot, yeah, that's basically the same, right? Is it better quality or worse? If I do, is it better quality like this or like this? Other than the bar at the top. I actually think this looks better. Interesting. Same quality. Well, that's not helpful, NetHab. So, are there any downsides to vMix features that you had in OBS Streamlab Wirecast that you want added? Oh, interesting question. Actually, no. I don't have anything that I wish was included here. Matter of fact, I think I've learned everything that I've wanted to try and do has been available, or I've been able to get it in a third party. So I don't. All right, hot take. I don't care necessarily for the titles that come with vMix because I'm very anti green screen. Like, anyway, but their title editor and creator is kind of cool. But I definitely use a different. Where are we here? Where's vMix? I definitely use a different source for live feedback. So what am I trying to say here? Lower thirds. I use a program called Snaz. Can you see this? Yes, you can. So this program is basically a counting program that dumps the data into a text file. I know you can do this inside vMix. It doesn't seem as clean. So what I do is I set my clock for whatever I need it to be. So here, this is the app that I use, and I say start, and it gives me a timer, right? And then I can bring that into vMix as a text file, as like a useful piece of live data. And then I can bring over a countdown timer like this one and position this anywhere that I want. So if I were to turn on the start screen, for example, then the music will turn on, but also you'll see that timer on there, right? So with the timer on there, that's where that data kind of gets layered in. So I run Snaz and it automatically shows on that start screen, and then it shows how long I have to go until the hour is upon us. Now, the nice thing is that if you select 11 o'clock and the timer goes to 0, it just turns off. And so there's not like zeros or like flashing or anything like that. It just is useful data to have as a part of the startup screen. So I like to bring sources of data into vMix and then integrate them, but control them externally. I don't know. Maybe that's just a workflow thing. Maybe that's me. Maybe I'm weird. Maybe I haven't seen the light and that maybe I should be enlightened somehow as to how to do this better. Not a huge fan of the title stuff, like the cheesy, like, but I do have a couple of them in here. So this is just kind of a run-of-the-mill overlay that I use. And same with overlay 2. This is also kind of a out of the box, but I didn't spend any time on this. So I just grabbed it, punched in my information, was like, yep, good enough. Overlay 1 and 2. And then overlay 3 is I had Josh Bernstein make me this QR code, and then I added that as an overlay. And so this is the heat map QR code, by the way, that is now overlay 3, and I run that. And I also have an additional overlay, which is basically just a timer when we're checking, when we're trying to make sure that like the outputs aren't ripping or like that the timers are actually running correctly. So if I take a screenshot of this timer running, I'll see all numbers. And that's how you know the numbers are like displaying correctly, is that it's not blurred. It will be all solid numbers all the way across. And so the frame rate is running correctly. And in particular, the milliseconds, like the first 3 milliseconds, that's what you really want to see. So that is on overlay 4, but I don't have that as like a button to press because I don't need that during the live show. So that is how that works. Okay, back to the playlist and back to the chat. So watching from Ghana, West Africa, what's going on? Is it Kwesi? I actually know a couple of guys named Kwesi, so I assume that's how they spell it too. So let me know if I got. You can say no, you're wrong, and I'll understand, and then I won't butcher your name anymore. But if it is Kwesi, let me know. Welcome to the show, and thank you for checking in from Ghana. I have a rich heritage with people from Ghana because there are a lot of people who have immigrated to Toronto from Ghana, and much of the hometown I grew up in. There are a lot of folks from Ghana, so. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here. Thanks for hanging out with us today. The same with, I don't need a microphone, sure, but the deaf person does. The live stream does. Yeah, true. I've had this conversation many times in lecture theaters. The light is the light. Yes. Yeah, I don't need a microphone. I'll just shout. It's like, yeah, except for the recording, that's not good, or for the person hard of hearing. Or I love it when they're holding a microphone and they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna yell." It's like, yeah, that makes you look professional. Learn how to use a microphone. If you're gonna be on stage, get comfortable with a microphone. All right, learn to really like good microphone technique. It will elevate the quality of what it is that you produce, even if what you produce is like not interesting. The quality of it will be so much better. So definitely learn to, and if you're on the production side, always get to the talent quickly and say the lights are going to be bright. Expect that, because our cameras have to have a lot of light. So it's going to be bright. Expect bright lights. Also, use good mic technique. So there you go. I'm selling the 4250 because I'm using a 4350 because we have multi-gig ports. Very cool. Well, then I'm okay with you selling the 4350. Multi-gig, the 4250 is just one. Yeah, how do you like that 4350? I'm assuming great, because you're selling your other fleet. I used vMix on a recent shoot with Bird Dog, and it worked seamlessly. Fully convinced to switching away from OBS. And I did that same thing too. It's so easy to get an output to Twitch. It's true. I agree with that. Oh, and that's a brilliant little app. I don't know which app you're talking about, but yes. So yes, getting it to Twitch or getting it to your preferred streaming platform is really handy in vMix. It's very simple. I used to use vMix and output NDI and then convert it with the webcam, but then I was like, why don't I just use the external out? So that's what you're watching here is the external the soft USB output is my video, and then my audio, I believe, is webcam 3. Yeah. So I am converting it on the webcam, but only for the audio purpose. That's it. Great answer. Thank you. You're welcome. Not sure. I'm glad it helped. Hey, I learned to love your lav. Yeah. Or just learn to love your sound. You trust your technicians, unless the technicians don't know anything. But you probably aren't the one, like if you're the talent on stage, you probably aren't the one to judge whether or not the technician knows his stuff. But like, if the venue has hired this person, you can assume that and the venue takes the stream seriously, then you can assume they know their things. Oh, Snaz. Yes, the app. Yeah. It is a great little program. So it's good stuff. Hey, check it out, everybody. This is where you are all from. And if you'd like to participate, whoops. Oh, that's a good reason to, that's a good reason not to do this. So back to this one. And Snaz is still in front of things. But yeah, this is a great little free app that you can just download. And it's really helpful. And it outputs everything to text files, and then you can import that text file in real time. It has time, date, and countdown. It has chrono timers. It has text line changers, and then it has some like dynamic file options. So there's way more to it than what it is that I'm using it for. But yeah, there's way more to that. So this is the heat map. If you wouldn't mind, scan that little QR code. Ask 2 anonymous questions. What country are you in? And what's the closest city to you? And if you fill that out and hit submit, it will put a pin on that city, and we'll get to see where you're hanging out from. So normally we have some friends from India. GoWeb isn't here yet, I guess, or is busy, or it's like midnight. Maybe he's wised up and started sleeping through this hour. But he normally hangs out with us out in India. The place where we don't get anybody now is East Asia. Okay, Japan, China, looking at you, and Russia. But we kind of understand why that might be right now. So we don't have a lot of people over in those zones, but we always have somebody checking in from Canada. Shout out to my Canadian brethren or sisters. We always have folks here in the U.S. because thus is the time zone. Hey, this is that shot. I love this. Ooh, and we need to do snacks on stream in just a second. We always have people over in the States. We haven't had anybody from South Africa or South America recently, but we normally regularly have somebody now from South Africa and somebody in Ghana right now. So there you go. I think we got 2 people, if I'm not mistaken, watching this show, and I love that. Thank you so much for joining us. For all of you guys who are tuning in for the first time, it means a lot. Thanks for hanging out. I really love it that you're joining us. My YouTube page is birddogjohn.tv. And if you feel so inclined, feel free to subscribe. That's the easiest way to check out and YouTube will tell you when I go live if you want to set it up that way. If you want to personalize notifications, then you don't need to rely on social media telling you when we go. BirdDogJohn.tv, if you want, that's a place to be. And we always appreciate that. That channel is slowly growing. I mean, over 300 subscribers, which is nothing in the YouTube worlds, but it's a big deal for me. And so thank you to all of you guys who have done that. That really means a lot. And I am flattered that you join us twice a week, Tuesday, Thursdays from 11 to 12, at least, Eastern Standard Time right here in the U.S. BirdDogJohn.tv. So, yeah, thanks for coming along for the ride. And I find that these topical shows normally are well received, and so I'm happy to do more of these. If you have suggestions, so I think GoWeb actually said it's about time that we do like Bird Dog apps. So Comms Central, start doing a review of those. So I think those need to. I think I agree. I'm kind of holding out for an update, but maybe it's time to do that because the updates might be a little further off than what I'm hoping for. So we probably need to do an update on those because the programs might be as is for the next few months. So, hey, I will mic you up, give you a wireless pack and a lav or a headset mic. Yes, exactly. Let me tell you how we're going to capture the audio. Okay, I'm the technician. Let me tell you how we're going to capture the audio. And Michael has a good head on his shoulders here. Make those decisions so that the talent can't choose. Okay? Here's a great insider trading tip you're going to hear right here. And this is prompted by Michael, but you choose the microphone for the talent and give them as few options as possible to screw it up. Like if you give somebody a handheld, they're going to do this little number and like constantly, and then they'll hold it down here at their chest, and then they'll like do also. Well, they probably won't do this, but they'll probably not be consistent. So if you have somebody that's speaking, especially, man, lav mic at least, countryman at best, pin it, keep it in its place, right? If you're going to have on-air talent and you're going to sit down and do an interview, NTG2 or a shotgun microphone or a proper, podcast microphone, and tell them, okay, you sit and I'm going to put the microphone where it needs to be. And my rule with singers and handhelds, okay, give them a handheld microphone, it needs to touch your chin. You need to hold it. I wish I had a microphone here, but I'll use this remote control. But it needs to like basically touch your chin. It should not leave this position. It should never leave this position, ever. Never do this. Never do this. Never do this. Never do this. None of that. None of that. Stop that. Stop. Mic technique is everything. Sing and put the microphone here on your chin, always. And then they can sing as they want, and us sound guys at least get consistent mic technique. So always touch the chin for singers. And if they're like, well, that's not how Celine Dion does it. It's like, you're not Celine Dion. Touch your chin. Seriously. You get guys, especially young talent, so like teenagers and stuff, who like to do the like cover the microphone. They see Eminem and they see their favorite, YouTubers, and they're covering the microphone. Honestly, guys, it's not designed for that. That's fine if you want to do vocal percussion, but outside of that, nobody wants to hear your muffled words. Please use proper technique. Hold the body of the microphone. Don't touch the buttons, and touch your chin. Big deal. Your sound guy will really appreciate it if you are consistent with your microphone. There you go. And us early morning Australians, yes, I love it when the Australians are on this show, but I've had regular attenders in Australia. Somebody in Perth, of all places, if you can believe that. No, the Australians are always welcome to be here on the show, and I wish more Australians would show up on the show because you guys are a whole lot of fun. I work for Australians, and their Australian culture is part of the reason why I stick around. Because you're a lot of fun. So there you go. Good group of guys at Bird Dog Melbourne. Hey, thanks, John. Excellent stuff. This is really great service that you're giving the community. Oh, thanks, Stephen. I really appreciate you saying that. Plus, you're making a community around them. Yes, I definitely feel like it's way too easy, especially in the support world, to make it like us versus them. And that's not what we're doing here. Like, we want you guys to be successful just as much as the next guy. And so, yeah, definitely come and hang out on the show and ask your questions, but get to know some of the guys in the chat too, and feel free to talk to them because they're a good group of people, and we definitely I would definitely encourage you to hang out with us again. So hopefully you feel like this is a welcoming environment, and yeah, definitely come along for the ride. Hey, another hot tip, Google Lav Magnet for women who don't believe in pockets. Ooh, Google Lav Magnet. Who don't believe in pockets. Here's the thing. What? What is this? Ooh, one moment, please. Yo. Oh my word. I love it. Dude, I love that. That's a great idea. Well done, NetHab. Um, let's head on over to the trusty dusty Amazon and look up Lav Magnet. Yes. Yes. That's for like under the shirt. Oh, look at this. That's cool. All right, let me show you what I'm looking at here. Present tab, show screen, share. So this is cool. Is this actually a magnet? Flexible, comfortable, most materials. What is this? Is it a magnet? Yeah. Magnetic microphone holder. It just has those like cool little slots that you just put the wire in. That's fun. But you can hold wires of any thickness, it says. What about thinness? Because the microphone that I have is super thin. But that's cool. I mean, that's $20, dude. Barrel add to cart. Let's go. Yeah, love it. Love it. Love it. I'm excited about that. So we check that out because I normally wear shirts without buttons. So I think actually the annoying piece about this is for women who don't believe in pockets, but also for people who don't believe in buttons, like a button-down shirt. So if I want to use a lav mic, it's super easy to conceal it that way. But I actually also really like the technique of concealing it on the body, right? And using the clothes as the windscreen. And so we did some work in a previous life with these types of like cloth strips that you can use, and you can tape the microphone to the back in the actual sticky part and cut this and then tape it to the body, the actual like skin. The problem is talent really don't like it when you tape things to their skin. They're like, ooh, sensitive. I have one guy that's like, no, don't tape anything to my skin. It's like this is a hazard of the profession. Is you're gonna get mic'd and taped. He like doesn't even like the tape behind the ear. And I had another guy who was like, I'm allergic to the glue they use. And I was like, this sounds like an excuse. I gave them this face. It's like, okay, well, I guess we'll have to degrade our audio so that your precious skin won't touch glue. But anyways, that's just on me. Hey, Lav even as a backup to the podium mic. Lavs are great, but they also need to give them the confidence monitor that prevents them from turning their heads away from the front. Yeah, so I mean, the Countryman is the way that I love to fix that issue because it pins it, right? It doesn't move. But if they won't do a headset, and I actually prefer the headset Countryman, but I know very few people who will actually use those because they don't like feeling like they're wearing gear. But that's the piece that pins it in place because it doesn't move regardless. The over the ear ones, they have a tendency to kind of do this number, and you have to like pinch it, and it's weird as a sound guy to like pinch things around people's ears. And so then you like tape it so it doesn't move, and then they're like, tape. It's like, okay, well, whatever. We have a little silicone thigh wrap for microphone packs. It's a great option as well. Oh, very cool. That's a good idea. I'm gonna look that up too. Wrap for Love mics. Oh, yeah, okay. That's a good idea. I like that. Hamstring compression sleeve. No, but I know what you're doing here. It could just be like a Velcro wrap, honestly. Like something thin. Yeah, like this. Thigh brace, and then you just snap it onto the. Yeah, that'd be easy. Easy peasy. Good idea. See, I'm learning lots of stuff just like you are. The problem with like the Countryman headset stuff is like they're like $800 for like the most fragile thing in the world. Oh, I've neglected the snacks on stream. It's true, I have. So let's bump that real quick. We are at 12:30. Ah, jeez. Okay, so let's do snacks on stream real fast, and then we'll get right back to the chat.
John's just making up stuff to start drama.
Look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing.
Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, God, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
Yeah, that was when I was in Melbourne, and that was pretty awful. So, yikes, yikes, yikes. Good stuff. Welcome back. All right, so let's just make sure that everything's good to go here. All right, we got snacks on stream. And so we're going to yoink, switch over to the P100, which is hanging on my ceiling, and as my overhead shot, and we're going to check this out. Oh, my gosh. Sour box of boogers. Tangy gummies, boogers that look and feel real. So we're going to test my gag reflex, apparently. Oh, no. Well, I will say that I have never had mucus that looked quite like this. So I'm going to give them a 3 out of 10 for realism. All right, 3 out of 10. Now, they've also sealed the bag. Come on, they sealed the bag lengthwise and not like where you could open it as a, you know, where you could pour it maybe. You got to open the whole side. So we're going to just fix that real quick. And remember, folks, a man without a knife is a man without a life. So always have a pocket knife on you. Shout out to a previous boss that I had. So we're going to just slice that open. And now, ooh, the sniff test. I can confirm they do not smell like boogers, whatever those smell like, but they smell like candy. So gummy candy that looks and feels real, but doesn't taste real. All right. So there are nine pieces in a serving. Oddly enough, there's 2 grams of protein, no cholesterol, but a ton of sodium, and 26 grams of carbs, which includes 0 dietary fiber and 17 grams of sugar. So giddy up. Here we go. 'Tis the season, folks, for strange candies appearing in the store. And shout out to Brayton for making this happen today. That is quite the find, my friend. So here we go. Let's find out what this is like. Okay. Question. That one's green apple. Who did the market research to find out what boogers feel like, right? So, sorry, what they feel like. looks and feels real. Question. Like, did you have like a bunch of 4-year-olds? Because like I have a 5-year-old son. I'm sure he could give me an accurate depiction of what it is that he expects. But looks and feels, I don't know. I don't know if this is accurate. But in terms of, do they taste good? Yes. The apple one, this one is like, it's got to be like pineapple or something. Slime apple. And then there's a watermelon one in there, the dark green ones, which I will try next. All right, back to the chat. I'm very anti-buttons. Yeah, I occasionally wear button downs. Sometimes I wear a polo, so they have a few buttons that's easy to mount. But what I hate about, what's going on here? Okay, what I don't like about lav mics is how obvious they are, right? So when you have one, especially with a windscreen, that should be under the shirt, not on top of the shirt. And I understand you're interviewing, like walking up to somebody on a convention floor. You're like, hey, can we do an interview? And they're like, sure. And you're like, clip. So let me ask you these questions. I get it. You don't have time to like feed this under your shirt and all this stuff. But I actually don't like lav mics because, first of all, when you look down on them, when you look down on lav mics, no, when you look down, as many people are reading, the decibel rating like goes through the roof because they're directly talking into the actual little microphone capsule. So you get inconsistent audio with lav mic, but also then it looks, some microphones are huge, so it looks like distracting almost. It's like I can't look away from the big fuzzy thing that's on your shirt. So if you could put them underneath the actual flap and put the windscreen on that should stop the rustling of the clothes. But ideally, you would mount the lav mic just like, right below their neck, essentially, and tape it down. And then you tape it on there and just run it like over their shoulder and down out the back of their shirt. And that way, the shirt acts as a windscreen, but also this little piece of fabric stops the rustling sound, which I found amazing. I even have, by the way, the company that makes this is Ursa Tape. They even have a little like fuzzy, sticky, like fuzzy, and that even works better. It's like a windscreen, but it's not for that. It's actually to stop the rustling of your clothes. And so if you really want to take your production to the next level, talk to your on-stage talent and say, what do you think about taping the microphone to the back of your shirt, like the button right there, taping it there and running it down so that you don't even see a microphone, or taping it to your skin so that we can get the best consistent audio. And obviously right in the middle of like upper chest, like right under your neckline, basically, you tape it there. And that's ideally the most, it's capturing this audio, because what's happening is the audio is coming off of your face and like kind of expanding out. And so you get a very consistent sound right under your chin. Now, if you tape it here, that's going to be a problem, because not only are you going to get throat noise, but you're going to miss. It's too far back. You probably can't see that, but like, see how far back it is from my mouth. But if I do it down here, that's enough space for my mouth to actually throw the audio. So you get a much different sound, right? Kind of like upper chest, So obviously this is going to look different per talent, per gender, per how comfortable are you with this person. Like the tech crews at churches are very familiar with the ministers. And so you kind of get used to, here's how we're going to mic this, here's how we're going to do it. But also like, hey, would you mind trying something different? They might be on board, they might not. You probably already know. But if you say, in the interest of making this sound better, could we tape it to the back of the button section of the shirt? And then you can go between first button and second button and use this type of tape, which doesn't leave a residue. So Ursa tape doesn't leave a residue. You peel this off, you put the lav mic, the bare lav mic, okay, no windscreen, on there. You kind of press it down, and then you take that lav mic and you tape it underneath the buttons, not under the buttons, but between the buttons, basically. And you can shorten it if they have a lot of buttons, but you could tape it like that, and then it stays put, but also then it's hidden, right? And they make these in white, in black, in gray, in skin tone. So if you need to match the color of a shirt, you can do that pretty easily. I have white and black ones, and that seems to be pretty good for what it is that I do, or like as I'm experimenting with things. So John has been enlightened. It's true, Ross. I definitely have. Wish we could see everyone's facial reaction right now. Countrymen are great. The DPA 6000 series is fantastic. It is. I can confirm this. So I've been playing with SRT. Oh boy. But not great. The SRT stream is very stable on VLC, but on the play it keeps stopping and starting. Any thoughts? Yeah, use a real SRT stream. Don't use VLC. Oh, you mean you're watching it in VLC or you're generating it in VLC? Because that can be various things. Are you on 30? Is that the firmware you're running? I don't trust VLC for that sort of stuff. It doesn't encode NDI correctly. I just don't trust it. But that's just me. Just me. I would generate SRT with like vMix, right? That one you can probably rely on. Ooh. So the 3 flavors, by the way, of this booger box is they're quite good. I'm not too sure about their accuracy of feeling like their attempt. They actually just kind of taste like gummy bears, and that's fine. Or maybe that's what people think boogers taste like. I don't know, or feel like. Hey, great for clothing items that don't allow secure cable routing. I'm really excited to order that little magnet. That's cool. DPA can have an IEM included. Oh, that's cool. Helpful for avoiding the tie clip mics are only designed for men's shirts, which is why I never refer to them as tie clip mics. Wise words. Hey, lunch on stream. Yeah, it's true. This is lunch on stream, basically. I could go get more lunch, but I'm almost done, I think. It's 20 to 1, so I better be almost done. Hey, you like sour candy, so I got you those. I really appreciate that. I do like sour candies. These could be like 10 times as sour as they currently are. They're very sweet. But the sour part of it, not really sour, but I understand why they're labeled as sour. But like, try and hurt me, you know? Like so sour that I have to stop the stream and get some water or something. But these are delicious. And I probably don't need to eat the whole box. And I might. Thank you very much, Brayton. I really appreciate it. Tune belt is another great accessory for belt packs on talent that don't have belts or waistbands. Protein. So it's basically lunch. Unfortunate news. Oh no. Are they going out of business? Okay, so one moment, please. I'll take a moment to check this out. Okay, so share this screen instead. Oh, come on now. Share this tab. Boom. All right, so big giant disclaimer. The Pakui One Chip Challenge is intended for adults only. Consenting adults only, with clear and prominent labeling highlighting that the chip is not for children or anyone sensitive to spicy foods or who has food allergies, is pregnant, or has underlying health conditions. We have seen an increase in teens and other individuals not heeding these warnings, and as a result, while the product continues to adhere to food and safety standards out of an abundance of caution, we are actively working with our retailers to remove the products from shelves. We are also offering refunds on our single-serve one-chip challenge products. For refunds, please click here or call. So they're going to keep selling them online, but they're not going to... Wait. The one-chip challenge... but can you buy it? This is this year's, right? Yeah, the Carolina Reaper. Whoa, what is that? The Naga Viper pepper? I've never even heard of that. How? So they're actively getting rid of it? I mean, they give the warning. What else do certainly, like, they're not being sued or something, right? The whole thing is covered in warnings. That's a shame. I'm not too sure what they expect people to. Like, you made something that's supposed to hurt people. Why? What? And then when it hurts people, people are like, "Oh, it hurt me." It's like, well, it told you it would do that. It's like, don't touch the oven while it's on. Don't touch the burner while it's on. Oh, I touched the burner and it burned my hand. It's like, why do you think we told you not to touch it? This product is not intended for children. So when a child or a teenager eats it and they're like, "Owie, I went to the hospital." It's like, well, yeah, we told you not to do that. And second of all, buying the product means that you consent to using it and the ramifications of what that is. That's annoying. People are idiots. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. Not all people. Just people who feed their children the one chip challenge, or kids who buy the one chip challenge and ignore the warning on it and then get hurt and then complain about it. Also, I hate the phrase, by the way, "out of an abundance of caution," because that phrase makes it sound like they're not interested in making a profit, and they totally are. So it's not out of an abundance of caution. It's probably we're being threatened with a lawsuit, and so we're going to take them off the shelves. That's likely what's going on. But maybe not. Hopefully not. I hope they don't get sued. They actually make pretty decent like tortilla chips. We've had some in the office that were decent. But evidently not hot enough for our friend Angus out in Edmonton. Hey, I tried my very first one-chip challenge. It was pretty bland and boring. The regular chips are fantastic. Really nice depth and flavor. I actually agree with you on that. I agree with you a lot of the time. But I agree with you. I actually have not tried the one-chip challenge. I have watched some of the videos on the YouTubes and have decided that might not be for me. It's not that I wouldn't try it. It's that I've just chosen not to invest money in that. So the abundance of caution is not for their customers. It's for their bottom line. Yes, I think that's accurate. This was years ago. I haven't tried the current chip challenge. I suspect they've upped their game a little bit, given the fact that I think they're inventing peppers to then use on the chips. Some of those peppers I know of the Carolina Reaper. We had another guy that works in the office. He brought in, I think, habaneros, and he gave one to one of the sales guys that was visiting, and they left one for me. So they're like, "Here, you should eat this. You like hot food." And I was like, "Okay." And I just like chopped it up and ate it. And it had some spice to it, but I think I've had hotter jalapenos than that habanero. So maybe I got the one that wasn't super spicy. But anyway, the lav mic thing is pretty cool. I really like that. I want to I'm going to look up this magnet mic and see what other ooh. I don't know why you'd want that, actually. So this does look pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
Having that little magnet mount, I feel like that's a great way to quickly using a thigh brace. That's such a great idea for like women who are wearing dresses, right? Or skirts or something. It's like, well, we have a thigh brace that you can wear for the lav pack. And that way, then it depends on the type of dress. Because like sometimes that may not be an option. There are some other little like microphone options here that are fascinating to me. The issue is the magnet needs to be light enough not to pull on the fabric too much, right? And so I think that there would be a delicate balance between that and, oh, there's an idea. You could use this on the road system. Actually, you could just use like earth magnets on the road system, right? That shouldn't interfere with it too much. If you could tape a magnet to the front side of a road, well, yeah, let's think about that. I have Rode mics, like excuse me, the Wireless Go, and they're great. But they're clip-ons, and so it'd be great to be able to position them anywhere with a magnet. That would be a good idea. I used to work in the biological sciences building at the university, and the greenhouse manager brought in a bag of fresh laboratory-grade habaneros one day. Those were hot. And if Angus says those were hot, then those were absolutely, that's the real deal right there, folks. Because Angus doesn't mess around. So, yeah, you can believe that. A lab, see, I would be nervous if a scientist brought me hot peppers. Oh, you like hot peppers, huh? I might have something. Yeah, that would frighten me. For sure. Home of the Law of Magnet. Are these for sale? Oh, they are for sale on this site. What do they want for them? $25? The Belt Pack Bar. Oh, that's a cool idea. The Percenters Pack. Stabilizer stick? What does that mean? Let's look at just the magnet. Is it 2 pieces? Or is it just 1 piece? Or do you have to use your own magnet? I want to like see like a video or something. I should reach out to these guys and be like, hey, we should do a collab. Is that what the kids say? Maybe I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I've decided against that idea. It would be great though to kind of have well, this picture website just stopped responding. Whoa. How are they wearing the love packs on their back like that? That looks like it would pull the shirt over time, doesn't it? Here, I'll share this with you guys so you can see what I'm looking at. Share screen. Sorry, these images are going to be a little bit small on the screen. But like you see this lady here, she's got this back. She's like the pack is on her back. And I know that they have like a love bar. Because I was looking at this right here. So this bar, I guess you snap it, like you hold it on one side of the shirt and you snap the other side and then you can clip the pack onto it. And then the love then sits on the talent's back. Again, that seems like it would pull on the shirt though. Like love packs aren't light. They're not heavy, but they're not nothing. So why can't I make that bigger? I don't know why I can't make okay, so here.
The best way to clip
is
a
the video.
184 style lavalier on a lav magnet is to push the tie clip all the way down to the
I
hinge.
see.
Take the
It clips
cable
into
around
that and then
behind
stick
the
magnet.
lavalier and down the
Very cool. Yeah. Just curious if we go to, because that's super convenient. Then you can position it wherever you want on the shirt, and it's not like in the way, you know. Let me just make sure I'm not being urgently tried to be met. Okay, no. All right, so there are magnets on both the inside and the outside of the clothes. Yeah, that's what I figured. But how, you know, and wouldn't it pull on the fabric? I want to see like a review because that would make sense that it would pull on the fabric and make it a little bit challenging. But these were grown in ideal conditions, otherworldly levels of heat. Grocery store habaneros have nothing on these, just brutal. Yep. The habanero that was brought in by the other office owner in this suite, he grew it himself, but it wasn't like, it was just kind of wild. But yeah, it was a homegrown version, not a store-bought one. You kind of get like a broad gambit of things when you buy them in the store because they have to appeal to a larger market, right? So anyway. All right, folks. Well, it is 10 minutes to 1, and so I better wrap things up here. And I got a bunch of stuff I'm supposed to do today. I better check my calendar, make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope. But I do have meetings later on today, and I'm supposed to do some work. So this is work, but it's also a little bit of fun, and so I feel guilty about that. But yes, we are steady into the weekend now. It is Thursday, and I hope this week has treated you well. It's been a busy one here, but we had Monday off, and so we're playing catch up a little bit, and we are trying to just get back to everybody as quick as we can. We're trying to figure out what the answers are, and also I'm doing trainings and that sort of thing with folks with their new cameras, and so that has been a good change of the day. And I'm also doing some automation stuff on the back end of our CRM, and so that's been kind of fun, a creative way to scratch my brain. So yeah, it's been an adventure this week, and the weekend, as they say, is just around the corner. So the rest of today, we've got half a day here in Michigan today and another day tomorrow, and then we will be off. So hopefully this week has treated you well, and even though if it was challenging, it has treated you well, and we're looking forward to hanging out again next Tuesday or Thursday from 11 to at least 12 o'clock Eastern time, and sometimes longer, like today. And we can chat again. Bring your NDI questions if you have any. If it can't wait till Tuesday, reach out to my team at help@birddog.tv. These are ticketing agents that watch the desk every business day. So Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 right here and sometimes after, right here in Auburn Hills, Michigan. So if you have a question, send it in. We'll do our best to get back to you as quick as we can. We do ask that you give us a couple days, but that's not normally the expectation. If something happens, we have an emergency, we have that time built in just so that your expectations are like adequate. We do try and exceed those every time. So don't worry about it getting a thing back saying it's going to be a couple days unless we're totally under or we're swamped or something happens and we're not answering tickets today for some reason, or we're on vacation, or there's a holiday. Those things, that's why that says 2 business days, just so that we're sure to hit that every time we're able to achieve that expectation. So feel free to email us at help@birddog.tv. If you send it in today or tomorrow, you'll get a response back before Tuesday's show. But if it can wait till Tuesday and you think that the community could learn from your question, and I'm always an advocate of this, bring your question to the show and we will talk through that. You can chat with me on the show live at birddogjohn.tv. That's the YouTube page that this show is hosted on. Anything that I do that is related to support at Bird Dog will get posted there. That's where the bulk of my content goes. There are other outlets where the show is being put online, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitch, on other YouTube channels. But birddogjohn.tv, that's the home base for all of this stuff. And so if you head on over there and you feel so inclined, feel free to subscribe to that. That would be greatly appreciated. But in the meantime, hopefully you are doing well and you're looking forward to the weekend. Hopefully life doesn't get you too busy, and we can see you again on Tuesday at 11 o'clock right here on birddogjohn.tv. Otherwise, have a great end of the week, and really appreciate you guys coming along, hanging out with me, and just spending some time chatting it up and giving me some really good ideas about ways of mounting microphones. So I really like that. So, all right, guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Super important these days. So be sure that you're looking out for one another. And we'll chat again later on Tuesday, 11 o'clock Eastern time right here, birddogjohn.tv. Take care, guys. Bye.
Kids, you tried your best, and you failed miserably. The lesson is, never try.
Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again?